Danny Hicks on the Fishbowl once again. Welcome.
Why, thank you, Sam. I'm swimming in the fishbowl,
Yep.
talking about my ass, swimming in the fishbowl. Oh my God, I got gas.
Awesome. Well, I hope it helps you float to the top.
Well, I just feel bad for all the other creatures in here with me. So,
Awesome. Now, you like we were talking just a few minutes ago. You are going to be in Pittsburgh next weekend,
I
June
am.
June 9th through the 11th at Pittsburgh Steel City Con.
That is true, and Bobby Joe's going to be there with me. So,
Yeah.
I won't run around screaming Bobby Joe because she'll be right at the table next to me. So, if any of your listeners can come down and see us, come and see us. We'll have fun.
I definitely think they will. I am going to be there in person. I got a weekend pass, so I'm going to be there. If maybe not all 3 days, but definitely Saturday and Sunday. So
Cool.
you'll get a full dose of the fish.
Okay, I can handle that. Have we ever met in person before?
We have not. This will be a
Ah,
first.
cool. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Now I have a few friends that work the Steel City Con. So you'll probably be meeting a person named Will Welfley. He might even pick you up at the airport. I'm not 100% sure if that's still his job. I know the last Steel City Con in April, he was the guy that went to pick all the guests up at the airport. Maintain everything. He's a really good guy, a friend of mine, and I'm sure you'll be meeting him at the Steel City Con.
Well, I'm looking forward to meeting Will as well. Will as well.
He's a really good guy, a friend of mine. In love with the Evil Dead movies. Knows all about your stuff as just as much as I do, and he's definitely a good friend of mine. But let's talk about what what got you interested in film.
Um, well, actually, I kind of just fell into the whole acting thing. I was a heavy equipment operator back in Detroit in the late 1970s, and a friend of mine, a guy actually who was staying with me for a while, was involved in this little tiny community theater called the Farmington Players Barn. And he said, "Would you like to get on stage?" And I said, "Yeah, okay, why not?" And I got on stage and never really got off again. So I just kind of fell into it. And I've been doing radio and television commercials and tons of industrial films in Detroit because it used to be when the auto industry was real prevalent in Detroit. They made so many industrial films. It was ridiculous. I mean, they were making like five or six a week. So that's where I learned a lot about how to work with the camera. But I'd never done a feature film until I auditioned for Evil Dead 2, and by golly, they gave me the job. So the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah, and Evil Dead 2 is probably my favorite Evil Dead movie out of the trilogy of movies. And I have to say that I really really love Ash versus Evil Dead. That's probably the greatest TV show to ever come into existence. And um, is do you possibly know if Sam has a possible role for you and maybe Timothy Quill, future Ash versus Evil Dead victims slash characters and whatnot.
Well, first of all, if you watch real carefully, I'm actually in the final episode of the first season. They used a clip from Evil Dead 2 of the character Jake, and then they showed his blue jean clad, his bib overhaul clad skeleton down in the cellar. So technically, I've already done my part. Um, but as far as um, some kind of role. I mean, on the television series, it's really cost prohibitive. I mean, either they've got to have a big role for you or no role for you because it's just so expensive to bring in an actor from Los Angeles to New Zealand just to shoot a cameo. I mean, it wouldn't be financially feasible. So that being said, if they ask me, I'll go. So whatever they want, I'll be happy to do. So
Well, I got my fingers crossed for both you and Timothy because, seeing Ted Raimi on the show the second season as like Bruce's best pal and everything from his hometown, um,
yeah,
was great, and I also seeing I'm sorry I forget her name, the woman who played his sister.
Ellen Sandweiss.
Right, right. Also in season two was great, and I especially
Mm-hmm.
like how I know that it's a rights issue, which is why that Ash versus Evil Dead is technically like a direct sequel to Evil Dead 2 versus it being the follow up to Army of Darkness, even though it acknowledges that Army of Darkness happened, they just don't
Mm-hmm.
really mention it too much in the film. But the second season, the second to the last episode, they really mock it really well, and I think that show is just fantastic. I'm happy to see Bruce back as the chainsaw wielding monster hunter, and
Yeah.
you know I'm actually working on a video game where I'm trying to incorporate Bruce Campbell as Ash and a number of the other famous slasher movie villains, and I mean the actual working title right now is Slasher Squad,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to just incorporate all the major slasher villains and bring together like what was great about the 80s and part of the 90s as well. Um,
Well, let me ask you this then. Is Bill in there from Intruder?
yes, yes, he is.
Okay. So then I might be what represented twice as Drake and as Bill.
Right,
Cool.
right. And I think that's even a good segue. Let's talk about Intruder.
Intruder was it was a great film. It was one of the most difficult roles I ever. I mean, I had to jump through more hoops for that movie than I think any other movie I've ever made. Because I mean, I'm sorry, Scott Spiegel, who co-wrote Evil Dead 2, um, he had written that the whole story many years before I met him. But then after working with him on Evil Dead 2, he kind of rewrote that role for me to play. And then, of course, when he was getting funding for it, no one wanted me to play that part. So I probably auditioned for that role 15 times, maybe. And every time I go in there and I do that, they wanted me to do the big long "Here Comes Parker" speech. So I done it so many times. The very last time I went into audition for that part, um, I said, "Well, do you want me to do it differently or something?" They said, "No, just go ahead and do it." So I did the whole thing with an English accent. So I think it kind of pissed them off. I mean, here comes fucking Parker walking down 9 Mile. And they never made me come back to audition. They just gave me the part after that. So I must have done something right.
That's classic. That movie is so awesome. The slasher movies were just you know a prime era of the 80s and 90s, and I really hope that with the way horror movies are coming back, especially um, the 80s style of horror movies coming back. I think we need to see a return of slasher movies to the screen, and not like the reimagining of Freddy Krueger or Jason or
Right.
Michael Myers, but something new. it's a totally viable genre, and it just kind of faded out with the big ones. And I think it's totally flourishable for something to come back and be reinvented. And that's where I say to my listeners, and who are screenwriters, some of them, um, this is your chance. Come up with some new type of slasher. That's could be remnant to the classics, but
Mhm.
come up with something new.
Sure, maybe they could come up with a wild Bill from the Walnut Lake Market who's English.
Right, right.
I'm just kidding. Well, there's plenty of people out there with very vivid imaginations. So, guys, get to work. Write some new slasher films so you make Sam happy. Okay.
Well, I already have a few in the works myself, so um,
Uh,
you know, we'll see if anything comes from it.
okay. Well, I'll be rooting for you.
Thanks. Um, let's talk about Maniac Cop.
Maniac Cop. Uh, I think that was the second film. Yeah, it was the second film I think I'd ever done. And that thanks to Bruce Campbell. I mean, Bruce just he got me the part. I didn't audition for it or anything. I just went in there and talked to Bill Lustig, the director, and he says, "Okay, here's what we're going to do. You're going to beat the hell out of Bruce Campbell." So by that time I was thinking, Jesus, this is what I'm going to do with my whole film career, just beat the hell out of poor Bruce. And I'll never forget doing the first take of that scene where I slam him up against the paddy wagon, and I slammed him into the side of that truck so hard. I thought I knocked his teeth out. And after the take was done, the director comes over. He says, "That was great. We're going to do it one more time, but do it harder." I thought, my God, I'm going to kill the poor bastard. So by the end, of course, I was using my body and everything to fake it as much as I could. I was slamming him into that truck so hard the thing was actually rocking back and forth on its suspension. So it was an interesting day. It was and of course anytime you work with Bruce Campbell, it's interesting.
Do you have any like favorite stories working with Bruce that's like could be offset or onset type stuff?
Uh, yeah, well, the one that sticks in my mind the most is when we were shooting Evil Dead 2, where there's a scene where I forced him to go out into the woods to look for Bobby Joe, and I hit him in the back of the head with a shotgun, with the butt of the shotgun. Of course, it's a rubber, stock, so I'm not really going to hurt him. And when he flew off that porch, his foot, the heel of his cowboy boots came right up between my legs and smacked me so hard right in the nads. And I'm standing there with my feet spread apart and everything. So he goes flying off the porch and lands on the ground. I jumped down from the porch and Sam yelled cut and I threw up all over the place. So it's I've known Bruce for a long, long time now. It's what 30 years. I think it's the 30th year anniversary for Evil Dead 2, and that's where I met Bruce. So I've got plenty of stories. I mean, almost like a lifetime full of Bruce Campbell stories. But it's just if you know somebody that long, you've done some stuff together. So we've had a lot of fun over the years. We've made some pretty decent movies, and we've had some pretty good times. Here's one of my this. A lot of Bruce's fans think that he's just a real big mouth bastard, that he doesn't care for his fans or friends or anything like that. I can't remember what year it was, but Bruce called me and says, "Hey, why don't you come up to Oregon for Thanksgiving?" And I said, "Okay, yeah, sure. My wife and I'll come up." He says, "Yeah, sure." So I got up there, and there was probably 30 people that Bruce invited up to his place in Oregon, and he paid for their airline tickets. He entertained us. He cooked for us. And that is the real Bruce Campbell. I mean, that's the kind of guy he is. And it was a very memorable weekend.
That's awesome. I actually have my own Bruce Campbell experience, and everything you just said about the real Bruce Campbell is 110% accurate.
Yeah.
It's like he actually has his new book coming out, which I am very excited to read, but I'm actually a little disappointed that he's coming basically everywhere on tour except Pittsburgh. And the last time his last book came out, Make Love the Bruce Campbell Way, he came to
Uh,
Pittsburgh, and that was so many years ago. I hadn't even graduated high school yet, and
wow.
my dad said to me, I'll take you to this event if you read the book, and I'm going to ask you questions, about the book to know if you read it or not. Well, I'll tell you
Right.
what, I read this book in 3 days. I thought it was hysterical, and I went to a place called the Oaks Theater in Pittsburgh. It's an area called Oakmont. There's a great ice cream place out there if you get a chance to go to Oakmont. I'm not sure if you will because it'll be in the Monroeville area, but
Yeah.
he there's a line of people, waiting around the block to get into this theater, and I happen to be one of the first people in line with my ticket. And first, the usher comes out and he's like, Bruce is not going to be signing anything, and people got like real bummed. And then 5 minutes later, the guy comes back out and he's like, I apologize for that. He is going to be taking pictures and signing autographs and all that. I go
Yes.
I go
The guy
in.
from this is,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
I go in to meet him, and I'm like trembling in fear at because this is like Bruce Campbell, the greatest be great actor to ever live, one of my idols, and I'm trembling in fear, and he stands up, gets out from behind the table, walks up to me and shakes my hand and says to me, no, no, no. Shaking hands is for politicians. We give hugs around here. And he gave me a huge bear hug, and this is like this that to me is like, one of the priceless moments of my life, and getting to meet the real Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, he's quite the character. Um, he- Here's probably one of the nicest things anybody has ever done for me. My wife passed away 7 years ago,
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
Bruce. Oh, well, yeah, well, thank you. But Bruce called me. He was one of the first people to even call me, and he said, "Danny, what do you need? I'll charter a jet for you to fly people in and out. Whatever you need, we'll take care of it." And that is the real Bruce Campbell. He's not the smart ass, saying I'm not your fucking monkey. He's a dear friend and a great person.
It's so awesome, like I love the fact that like the majority of the people that I've met, going to these conventions and stuff that are specifically from horror movies, are I've just found to be like really just genuine, really nice people. And it's true with you, Danny. um, just through talking with you twice now, and getting, I'm sure it's gonna be even truer when I get to meet you in person next weekend. But it's just really awesome that these where sometimes mainstream actors, they get an attitude, or they get this idea of like, I'm allowed to have this ego, and they lose like what it really means to be an actor and entertain the fans that come to pay to see your movies. And it just, I think it's just great to actually talk to people and know that they're genuine and down to earth and all that.
Well, this is one of the very important lessons I learned from Bruce Campbell was, without the fans, we don't have a career. I mean, I'm just an unemployed crane operator, but because of the fans and because of, how dedicated horror fans are, uh, hey, I've had just probably the best career any human being could ever ask for, making believe that you're somebody else. And that's all thanks to the fans. And I learned that from Bruce Campbell when he was doing Briscoe County Jr. He was on the weekends he would go to these like rodeos and stuff and make public appearances, and he would get people's names. And then on his lunch hour, when he was, in his lunch break, when he was working on Briscoe County, he would call these people just to say thank you. That's how he would spend his lunch break, calling fans just to say thank you for being a fan. And of course, the people were just blown away from it, because they'd never really run into an actor that would do something like that. In fact, 99% of them didn't really believe it was Bruce. They thought it was someone else. So, but it was interesting. And he taught me a very important lesson. Without you guys, I'd just be an unemployed crane operator.
Right. That's so awesome to hear. You know. Um, but I was actually let's get back into talking about movies here for a sec.
Okay,
Um,
all right.
let's talk about Dark Man.
Dark Man was fun. I mean, not only did I get to work with some of the best actors that have ever graced the planet, um, but I played a fairly interesting character, Skippy, and my one leg, and it was just before CGI became widely used. So in my case, we actually had to design a harness to tie my leg up behind me, which it was incredibly painful. I could tie my leg up like that behind me for about an hour, and then I just couldn't take the pain anymore. They had to release the harness and massage the hell out of my leg. But it was an interesting movie. I It's probably my favorite Sam Raimi movie. Well, my favorite Sam Raimi movie that I'm in. I mean, there are other movies that he's done that I enjoyed quite a bit, but Darkman was just a great experience. And most people uh, don't realize this because my character doesn't die in that movie. But when we were shooting it, we spent an entire week, which is myself and Liam Neeson, where Darkman killed Skip, and it took almost a week to shoot the thing. They actually found a one-legged stunt man who resembled me. They built Skip's apartment so that the floor was actually the walls and vice versa. So they dropped this one-legged stuntman through the camera frame. They had three high-speed cameras. They dropped the artificial leg with the machine gun in it, and then this one-legged stuntman through the cameras, and he smacked into what was in the final version. It would look like the wall, but it was actually the floor. So that they used gravity to make him look like Darkman picked Skip up and threw it the length of the building without any drop off. There was no arc to it. And then he slams into the wall, falls down, and Darkman walks up to him and starts punching holes in the cinder block wall all around his head. And it's not in the movie because they had technical problems. They could see the armatures that were driving Darkman's fist through this cinder block wall all around my head. So it's not in the movie, but I got to spend a whole week working with Liam Neeson, just myself and Liam. So it was quite an interesting movie. I enjoyed it very much.
That's awesome, and I have to agree with you. It's my favorite Sam Raimi movie with you in it. Um,
Wow. Okay.
and it's just a great movie in general. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like I recently showed Darkman to one of my friends, and he had never even heard of Darkman before, and he likes the Evil Dead movies, likes Sam Raimi as a director, but doesn't know the full extent of Sam's upcoming and ability as a writer and director. And
Yeah.
Darkman is just there's so many elements to that movie that I just love so much. I mean, Sam is also probably in my top five favorite directors of all time.
Yeah.
And he just knows how to work the camera, get the shots. I mean, I especially like his zoom in shots. They're really, really
Mhm.
clever and everything, but Darkman is just it's like you're given the world that that this movie is taking place in right off the bat, and it things escalate very quickly in that in that film, but it's done like kind of in like a you know comedic fashion, but with extreme violence going on at the same time, and
Yeah.
it's a very unique film.
That opening scene was only supposed to. I think the shooting schedule called for 1 day for that opening scene in the warehouse, uh, and we ended up shooting it because Universal Pictures saw the dailies and well, back when they used to have dailies, and they liked it so much they said, "Keep going. We'll give you more money. We'll give you this and this and this and whatever you want." So we ended up shooting down there for 8 or 9 days, and just kept making it bigger and bigger and bigger. But originally, that whole scene, it was just an introduction. I mean, it was supposed to go from us getting out of the car and walking into the warehouse, and that was basically it. So all the carnage that takes place afterwards was all added on.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It was just
And here's why Sam Raimi is one of the great directors of all times. Uh, After all that carnage, and my character is hopping up and down on one foot, and Smiley sticks his arm out, and I perch on it. When he wanted me to do that, I said, Sam, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. I really don't want to. He said, trust me, Danny. He said, you'll get the biggest laugh in the whole movie. And he knew exactly what he was doing. Because as bad as I felt about doing that scene, of course, Sam's the director. I'm going to do whatever the hell he tells me to do. He was right. The audience just loved that scene. And I just thought it was so damn stupid. But what do I know? I in Evil Dead 2, I honestly thought that the audience would understand Jake and not think he was just a total idiot. And I remember Sam telling me, "No, Danny, trust me, these people are going to hate Jake." And I said, "Well, he's just trying to save Bobby Joe." But he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly how the audience was going to react to everything.
that's awesome. Sam also just seems like a great guy. I mean, the Raimis just in general seem like really just fun. And like we just talked about earlier, just really down to earth people that know how to make a film and make it right, and um, from what it sounds like, they know how to work with their actors really well also to get what the the famous scenes that we've seen in countless Sam Raimi films.
Yeah, he knows exactly what he's doing, and he is. I've worked with Sam on God, I don't even know how many pictures, 7 or 8 probably, and I've never seen him get mad, not once. I mean, I know there have been times when he's been incredibly pissed off, but I've never seen it. I mean, I know he'd be angry. In Darkman, the character that plays Smiley, he kicks open the door and lets go of this machine gun and blows all these bottles up. There's hundreds and hundreds of these little tiny bottles that he shoots full of holes. Well, of course, the way that's done in the movie is they take a tiny electrical or explosive charge and put them on each and every one of those little bottles. Well, he was firing blanks, of course, but he was still firing. You had to have the fire coming out of the barrel of the machine gun in order for it to work. Well, he had the safety on. He kicked the door open, and the pyrotechnician flipped the switch, and all the bottles start exploding, and nothing's happening with the gun. So Dan Bell, God bless him, he starts going bang, 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 bang. As all these bottles blew up and everything, and nothing was happening the way it was supposed to. And Sam just walked up to him afterwards. Of course, they had to reset the whole thing. And he says, "Please don't do that again." So he said, it was hilarious. Uh, but he knows exactly what he's doing. That's for sure.
That's awesome. That's so great to hear. Um, the last film I want to talk about is working with a different director. but it's someone we've been talking about quite a bit on the show, and that's Bruce Campbell in My Name Is Bruce.
My name is Bruce. That was, you know, um, he sent me the script. He says, "I want you to come up to Oregon. We're gonna shoot this movie," and he sent me the script, and I read it, and there's no part in it for me. So, I called him. I said, "Well, there's nothing in here for me. What do you want me to do?" He said, "Just come on up. We'll figure something out." So, Tim Quill and I went up there, and in fact, I think we went up together. Yeah, I think we did. Anyway, we get up to Oregon and we're getting ready to shoot, and Bruce says, "Just do whatever you want to do. Figure out what you want to say and what you want to do, and that'll be fine. We'll take it from there." So I'm thinking, I'm talking to Tim, and I say, "You know what? If Bruce is making fun of himself in all his movies, I said, I'm going to make fun of Jake from Evil Dead 2. And Tim says, "Well, all right, great. And I'll make fun of the blacksmith from Army of Darkness." So I said, "Great, great. But we'll do them." So we came up with some dialogue and stuff. And just before we started shooting, I mean, like, they were setting fixing the lights for the last looks and stuff. Bruce came out and says, "So what are you going to do?" So we told him, and he says, "Okay, that'll work. But you're gay. Roll cameras." So that's how we found out that we were a gay couple in that movie. It was absolutely hilarious. If you watch that scene, I am trying so hard not to laugh. I think I peed my pants a little bit because even I didn't know that Tim was going to lean over and say, "I wish I could quit you." And I just, it was so funny. It was so hard not to laugh. But we had an absolute riot making that movie. It was so much fun.
That's one of my all-time favorite Bruce Campbell movies, also, and of Danny and Hicks and Timothy Quill. Especially seeing you guys as the gay couple in there. I mean, I had already seen um, my Bruce Campbell Phil up until that point when that movie came out, and I was so excited to see it because it was making fun of the Evil Dead movies and everything. And when I was like kind of like looking for little moments in the film that were like a homage to those movies, and when I caught you guys in there, I mean, I have to say, Ted's part was funny, but seeing you guys in there, because as like the smaller comedic bit, I think that was my favorite part of the film. Um,
I don't know how well that movie plays if you're not a real big Bruce Campbell fan, and I wouldn't know because I'm a huge Bruce Campbell fan, but and as everyone should be. So I really don't know how well that would play to somebody that had never seen a Bruce Campbell movie before. It's I'll have to ask somebody one of these days if I can find somebody
yeah,
that hasn't seen a Bruce Campbell movie.
I might have to run that experiment on my own because I know a few
Okay.
people that haven't that unfortunately have not seen too much Bruce Campbell's or too many Bruce Campbell films, and I am interested to see also because I think the movie is hysterical on its own, but then again I'm a huge Bruce Campbell fan, um,
Yeah.
but either way, I think the movie's great, and even if someone were to say, "I don't understand it," it's like then you would say, "Well, now we have an assignment, homework assignment. We have to watch all the Evil Dead movies. We have to watch as much Bruce Campbell as we can, so then we can go back and watch this, and then you understand why it's so funny."
Yeah, and then Cave Aliens will make sense.
Right, right.
And the director of that, the behind the scenes stuff, actually, uh, the behind the scenes stuff to me is the best part of the movie. And that was all directed and shot by a guy named Mike Callio, who's very, very good friends with Bruce. He does all of his videography work and stuff. And he just did a marvelous job on that movie, doing the behind the scenes. He also played the director of the Cavalian. How do they pronounce it? It's Cavalians.
Right.
Whatever it is. Anyway, he played the director of that movie. So he did a marvelous job. In fact, I think that scene, the whole Cavalians or whatever it is it's called, the making of that movie. I think that's the best thing in the movie. It's hilarious
Right.
when they Bruce doesn't show up and they don't even notice. It's hilarious. No.
Awesome. Well, Danny, I want to say it was great having you on the show once again. Thank you for swimming in the bowl with me again.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. And guys, you got to come out and see me at Steel City Con in Pittsburgh, June 9th, 10th, 11th. Also, I'm going to be at Crypticon in Kansas City, July 14th, 15th, and 16th. And if you're a California type person, I'll be at Sinister Creature Con, October 14th and 15th in Sacramento, California.
Awesome. You hear that, Fishbowl listeners? Danny will be several locations over the U.S. over the next couple weeks. Come out and see him. Pittsburgher Fishbowl fans, you heard it on the Fishbowl first. Come check out Danny at the Steel City Con. I'm going to be there all weekend. Come see the Fishbowl. Come see Danny. It'll be a blast.
Yeah, I'll definitely come by. Are you going to have like a booth there?
I'm not going to have a booth, but I'm going to be actually. I'll have a gift for you. Your official Fishbowl
I like
pen.
it. Cool. Cool. Well, come in and find me and sit down and if you want, we'll record some more stuff or do whatever you want to do, Sam. Okay?
Yeah, that would be great. I'm actually gonna Sunday. I'm gonna have my recording equipment with me. So I was gonna ask. That sounds great.
Cool. I'll introduce you to Bobby Joe.
Awesome. Sounds great.
Where are you?
Where are you, Bobby Joe?
Where are you, girl? Oh boy. Well, anyway, Sam, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you in Pittsburgh next week.
Absolutely, me too. It's going to be a blast.
Great.
Awesome. Thanks, Danny.
You're welcome, Sam. Thank you.
All right.